Well, hello, Reese here from the Point Music Podcast thingy. I know I've been a little bit sort of laxed with the podcast distribution this year. There are reasons for that. I don't like putting too much pressure on myself these days. So, yeah, I do it in sporadic moments, and then you get gems like I got the one tonight. So, our special guest for this podcast, which is like episode 103, Milina Mihic. Amazing artist. She would just release a single, Stay With Me. Previous singles, Overpass and Armstrong Street, they're all leading up to her EP. It comes at the end of July. Such a incredible, insightful human being, and I really enjoyed this chat. So pull up a chair, grab a coffee, whatever it is, and enjoy the next 20, nearly 30 minutes of us talking about music. Ladies and gentlemen, people, all sorts. This is Milina Mihic. Pick this one off. Milina Mihic. See? I nearly had it stuffed up. How are you this evening?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm not too bad. I work in retail during school holidays, so I'm ready to kill people sometimes. But apart from that, all good.
Fun fact, I also work in retail. I work with my mum to make clothing.
Oh, wow. Well, I sell a rare, precious gem. That's what I do.
And sometimes I want to kill people too, so fair enough.
Yeah. It's just retail. It's what it is. Well done with Stay With Me, your latest single. I do have to let people know that when you listen to it, try not to be in an emotionally raw state because it will get you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, so you're in agreement with that. Good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because the first time I listened to it, I was a little bit emotionally raw from something that happened, and I was like, "Oh man." Yeah. So it's what I explain it, because I did do a quick little review about it. How I mentioned Maggie Rogers and Fiona Apple feel, but going back to it, there's a lot of like an 80s nostalgia, like even a Kate Bush kind of vibe coming through.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah? All right, cool.
Yeah.
So let's get into your headspace with this one, because there's a lot of textures and layers throughout the three singles that you have, which is like Overpass and Armstrong Street as well. There is a lot there, even though it sounds sparse. So let's get into your headspace and explain how you come out with this.
Well, I think it all started with Stay With Me. That was the first song I actually finished writing in my life. And I was like, wow, okay, that song went through so many evolutions in like its production and everything, like even the writing, like the structure of it, all of it. So it started off very folky and very like guitar, and then we moved a little bit into the digital space, and I was just like, this just doesn't feel like me yet. And then I started to really look at like influences that I had been inspired by and really admired, and people like Fiona Apple and Tori Amos, and like Tori Amos especially, because there's a lot of things in the production that I find so interesting. Like there's little just soundscapes and things that wouldn't feel important, but they really make the song. And then while we were figuring that out, I ended up recording my other single, Armstrong Street. And I remember I was like, I want this to be really stripped back, but I want there to be texture to it, like almost like there's playing in the background. And so me and my producer were walking around his apartment recording just random noises, and you can actually hear them in the background.
Right.
And there's actually I think there's one point in the song where you can hear his air fryer turn on and off, and his camera, which I thought was so funny. But I think that was kind of when we were like, okay, and then he suggested the idea of actually adding the sound of like the pedal on the piano into the song, like having that texturally be there. And I was like, that feels really me, like it just in a room, actually just like I want to feel like you're sitting in the room while I'm singing the song.
Is that him talking at the end of Armstrong Street?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. See,
so that it kind of, I actually love that so much. No one's actually pointed that out before. So that's awesome.
It's right there. Yeah, you can. Well, with headphones on, it's very, very present, particularly with sort of like I tend to listen to a lot of these tracks like late at night because that's the
Mm,
time I only have when it's quiet and I can just dissolve into
yeah.
it. And yeah, that was really prominent. So this one you had trouble, like not trouble, but you were
Mhm.
sad to let it go. Let's stay with me. Yeah. So how
Yes.
you wrote this at what, 17? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wrote this song um just because I obviously teenage angst,
Mm,
adolescence, whatever. I had this just nagging feeling that I was always going to be a little bit too much and like just the all the feelings that you have when you're a teenager. And I remember thinking like looking at like my relationship in my life and my life and like my friends and I was just like I just feel like if worse came to worse like I wouldn't be given the chance or like the second chance that I need, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Especially when because I grew up in a very um not good high school, I would say. It wasn't the best and there were a lot of experiences that I had which actually really shaped the way that I think I wrote the song and like the perspective the song comes from,
Right.
where like I would, for example, it would be like, oh, well, like she bought the same bag that I did for school, so we're not speaking to her anymore. And like that would be kind of like what it was like, and it was like, oh my God, any day now it's gonna be me. Like
Mm.
I'm gonna be the one that's put out on the line. And I think that really shaped me and like the way I saw people for a long time. And that kind of just poured out when I was writing this song. And then slowly as I grew up, I was like, wow, this really applies to kind of everything because like there are so many instances where like we're taught to like, yeah, stand up for yourself, like set boundaries, no means no. They do it once, you cut them off, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I've always been maybe too forgiving. So it was like writing from the opposite end of that spectrum about what I think that feels like, I guess.
Do you find yourself to be a bit of an empath at times?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think maybe sometimes a little bit to my detriment,
Yeah.
which is, yeah, a lot of the EP is really about that, I think,
Mm.
at its core.
So therefore, the EP is a kind of is a form of catharsis, really, when you think about it, right?
100%,
Yeah.
100%.
So stripping back to the bare bones, I'm assuming, are you a guitarist or a piano player?
I do both,
Both.
but
Okay.
I usually start a lot of songs on guitar.
Okay. And you just let it sort of you form your structure that way, and then you jot down notes. Do you take influence from anywhere else to put your pieces together, or you sit back, you jot down notes, and you take it to the producer, and you just like, let's form this shit.
I think it really depends. Like there are like for example like Armstrong Street, the song was kind of fully fledged out before I had brought it to my producer
Okay.
because I think it was just like it just kind of flowed really well and then we ended up just translating the guitar chords to piano for that song.
Yeah.
But like Stay With Me as well was already finished, but then we kind of rearranged the structure a little bit based on what the production ended up looking like. Which I think it's usually very much like a when we start out, it's always kind of like a okay, what's the feeling? Like what's the feeling that you want to have leaving the song?
Mm.
And that's usually kind of how we end up playing out. And usually we're pretty much on the exact same page with that, which is amazing. It's amazing to work with someone like that.
Well, there's a lot of melancholy that's woven throughout three of these tracks. So I'm assuming the rest of the EP
Mm.
is going to be like that, right?
Yeah. Well, there's I think that there's a it kind of ebbs and flows. There are some songs that are extremely introspective, and then there are other songs where it's just kind of my observations about people and the world,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is really cool. Like, one of the songs on the EP is called Winter, and I wrote that about my grandfather. And so it was about his like struggle with mental decline and getting older.
Yep.
And I kind of wrote from his perspective because I was like, I just really want to understand and like get it, like how he would be feeling. So that is really sad also, but it's not as like sad from the perspective of like how I'm feeling. And then there's another song called The Matter, which I think is one of my favorites on the EP at the moment, which is, yeah, very much not very sad. It's actually very, if I could explain it in like a phrase, it would be like, dude, what are you doing? Like that's kind of what the song is. Yeah. Yeah.
Now knowing that you are a pianist as well, that Tori Amos would influence would make a hell of a lot of sense.
Mhm.
And I was going to use that in a way to describing the tones because there is a lot of Tori Amos coming through here, but it would have been too easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And pretty too obvious in a sense. Because she's amazing. I've like
Yeah.
I'm in like late 40s, so I was there when Cornflake Girl became a massive hit and
I
everything.
love Cornflake Girl.
Yeah, and Professional Widow and all those
Mm.
massive songs, and she's still got a phenomenal career. She's still playing, still
Yeah.
amazing. Same
Yeah.
same as Alanis Morissette, is the same sort of deal. Like
I love
these these
Alanis Morissette.
these women were at the forefront of like well, they're leading the charge of this whole new revolution, musical revolution for female artists that weren't afraid to do what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
So, do you take sort of reference from that, influence from that as well?
Yeah, I am really inspired by their journeys as songwriters and as musicians, like especially Fiona Apple.
Mm,
Like I think there's a I have a lot of respect for them as like a group of musicians because it's just I've never listened to anything and gone, oh, this doesn't sound genuine. Do you know what I mean? Like everything that I've heard from them has always been like, whether I relate to it or not, just at their core, who they are fundamentally or like what they're feeling, which I think is amazing.
mm.
Especially like I Want You to Love Me by Fiona Apple. That song is really like extremely moving. And there are so many jarring moments in the song that like you wouldn't even like for like having that little electronic drum thing at the beginning of the song that starts off the whole song. The first 30 seconds are taken up by this video game sounding thing. Like people would nowadays, if you heard something like that, people would be like, oh, it would be to the detriment of the song. It's not worth putting it in.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that that's what makes it even more like devastating of a song because when it gets to that point and you actually sit through it and you wait and the anticipation builds up, it just becomes one of the most beautiful songs in the world.
Do you think we're
I love
missing?
that.
Do you think we're missing sort of certain artists like that when you look at popular music these days, particularly from
Mhm.
female artists? I mean, the top ones at the top. Well, you're gonna have your Taylor Swifts with, and you're gonna have Olivia Rodrigo and Phoebe Bridges. And do you think anyone's at that level of like Tori or Alanis or Fiona now, or do you
I
think we
think
don't have
right
the
now,
attention span for it?
that's the thing. Like, I think right now there are a million people out there putting out music that feels the same and sounds the same and is incredibly moving and beautiful, but I just don't think people are paying attention to that right now.
Yeah, it's too easy to just go by the wayside, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the art of actually searching for a song and looking for something that moves you and looking for art that challenges you has kind of gone away, especially because of social media's influence and
Mm.
everything being so accessible. When it's harder to find, people just stop looking.
Yeah, so the mystique's gone, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I think that like the only way to really inspire people to get involved again. Like Phoebe Bridgers just did that, the tour, like the dollar tour
Yeah, yeah.
all around America. And like that was incredible. And I think that there's a massive emphasis, like the whole point of that was to kind of drum up some attention that doesn't come from social media itself or like a 30-second TikTok snippet. Like no one knew what they were signing up for
Mm.
when they decided to go to that show. But when they walked out, they were either pleasantly surprised or disappointed. And I think that people aren't willing to be disappointed anymore.
Wasn't that one of them at Madison Square Garden? There was the whole
Yeah.
no phones policy and all that sort of stuff, right?
And it was like a
Yeah,
dollar a ticket. Insane.
That's crazy. But what, did she do one or was there four shows?
I'm not sure.
There
I
was a
think.
lot of shows at Madison Square Garden. I'm sure she did more than one.
Hmm. But I think the idea of that is incredible, but also like
Scary.
as so many people are independent artists
Mm.
now, it's usually virtually impossible, which is
Yeah.
yeah, another issue that we
Well,
have.
I mean, like in Australia, I've never made an income from playing music or in the music industry. Um, I mean, maybe from my not chasing it hard enough, but like I've been playing in bands and playing music for over 3 decades now, and I I like my job, and it allows me to do the other things. It allows me, therefore, not to have to put the pressure on myself to conform. In a sense, if I want to create art, I can
Yeah.
do the most out there stuff if I really want to, and I don't have to be held accountable for it. I don't have to try and sort of make an income for it. And I think a lot of musicians are stuck in that sort of a way where they have to sort of try and they want to create art, but they also have to eat. And
Yeah.
this industry in Australia just doesn't quite cover it unless you're at the top tier, which is like literally like 5% of artists in Australia
Yeah.
that actually can do that. How do you feel about that?
Um, it can be really daunting at times thinking about Australia specifically just really doesn't have much interest in highlighting talent anymore.
Mm.
I think that it's a lot easier in a lot of different countries to be more successful. And I think that to actually do it and make it in Australia is one thing, but then it's also like, is the struggle worth it sometimes? And it's really conflicting and whatever. But I also think that for me personally, I would be writing music and recording music anyway.
Yeah.
So like a massive factor for me because I've been writing music for a really long time as a way to process my own emotions outside of trying to process someone else's, which is a big thing. And I think that it would just be a waste. Like I think if I had all these songs and I had all this stuff and I had all these things to say, it would just be a waste not to put it out because you don't know. Like eventually maybe someone will hear that and actually give a shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's actually really funny. I put out a song on a previous project of mine called Do You Know Me Now? And it was just about me once again being conflicted about things, which is very common. And I remember putting it out and it initially didn't really do very well and I was like, oh shit, all right. It was my first debut single and I was like, all right, I just throw in the towel, whatever. Didn't
Mm-hmm.
work out. And I remember getting a text from a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend being like, I just want you to know that my whole family is obsessed with this song, but you don't understand how much this song means to me.
Love that.
Genuinely, like, and she was like, this has genuinely changed how I see things and how I see my life. And it's like genuinely brought me out of a very dark place.
Mm-hmm.
And I read that message and I was like, holy shit, like, that's what this is about. And it's like, it's amazing, especially when like people can relate to something so like even though it's sad and it's like there's a lot of sadness in the EP when people can relate to that it's like solidarity and like there's people you can rely on without even knowing them and there's people that you can choose to lean on and kind of just take that weight off of your shoulders for a minute. And I think that I do that with all of my favorite artists. Like there
Yeah.
are artists out there when I'm like, oh, I don't really want to talk about this with anyone else. Let me just put on Stranger in the Alps by Phoebe Bridgers, or let me put on like Fetch the Bolt Cutters, like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's the I can never say it's a bad thing to fill your life with art.
It actually brings to mind that you ever seen the movie Almost Famous?
I actually haven't. Funnily enough, everyone talks to me about this movie, and I'm like, I haven't seen it. I don't know.
There
I
is
don't know
a
what's wrong with me.
very famous line in there, and I'm going to screw it up, so I'm going to basically paraphrase it. But basically, one of the characters in there, Penny Lane, she just goes, "If you're ever feeling lonely, oh, might not be Penny Lane, it might be the character's
Oh, I
sister.
know which one you're talking about.
If you're ever feeling lonely, go to your record store, and your friends will be there." Right, and talking
Yeah,
about all your
yeah,
artists
yeah.
because it's all about interpretation of the song. So the artist
Mhm.
might be talking about this woman that they actually, yeah, it doesn't matter what it is. You, for some reason, that song you interpret to how you're feeling, and it makes you feel heard or seen or it relates to it. And that's what we should do as artists. Is a lot of
Yeah.
the time is channeling all this sort of stuff and putting it out there. So you did the right thing by putting your song out there and go, oh well, whatever, and it reached out and touched someone, and
Mhm.
it made it worth it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And even with touring and like shows, it's like there's really no benefit when you're doing a headline show and like even when you're opening for people, sometimes it's like, oh, $150. And I'm like, well, that's not gonna feed the band. What are we gonna do here? But there are so many times where you'll meet people in the crowd and like you make new friends like every time you interact with people or like you're moving someone in a way that they wouldn't have been able to experience before
hmm
if you hadn't been there.
It's the same. Like, okay, so I spent a good 10 to 15 years playing in reggae bands and sort of rootsy kind of bands, and before that, I was played a lot in metal and alternative
Mm.
rock sort of stuff, and it didn't make sense to me why why people weren't sort of coming to these alternative gigs and metal gigs as much as what they do to roots gigs until I finally got it. When you're playing sort of reggae and roots music, people want to be moved, but they just want to dance, and they get out any
Yeah.
kind of feeling or any kind of bad juju they've had. They just get shake it all out because they listen to this music, right? And you can see it, you can see it happening when you're playing in the middle of the set, and these people are just in the moment, and they're just not giving a shit about. They've got issues about rent or whatever the case is. They're in that moment, and they're allowed to feel free, and that's what
100%.
music should
Like
do.
I mean, like when I'm reflecting or I'm nostalgic, I put on sad music. But when I'm really down, like I listen to Michael Jackson or like Britney Spears or something.
Yeah.
Perk me right back up. Like I think that's the thing as well. Like there's always got to be balance. Like I think people will always want to feel happy,
hmm
and that's why popular music usually leans that way.
hmm
But I think there's a very select group of people who will always want to just like there's a moment where you have a feeling and you kind of just want to sit in it for a minute. And when you find a song that perfectly reflects exactly how you were feeling and you're like, holy crap, this is my song, it's amazing. So
Uh,
there's always enough room for everyone. I think it's just getting people to want to find it again.
I love that you referenced Michael Jackson. I've noticed that without sounding old, the younger generation actually finding a new appreciation for him. So, because
Mm,
he's got some absolute bangers, man, like Thriller and Bad and Dangerous and Off the Wall, amazing
mm.
records.
Yeah, I mean so I actually really got into music because my mum is a huge fan of music. And
hmm
like she doesn't play an instrument, she can't sing for her life. Sorry. I feel like she's listening. But
Sorry, Mum.
can't, can't sing to save her life, but she was from the day that I was born blasting Prince around the whole house.
Yes, there we go.
Like the whole house. And I remember I would have been like 5 and I listened to Jeff Buckley's version of Hallelujah
Ooh, yep.
and I was like, what's this job? I want this job. And like because that song is just oh my God. And then I remember listening to You Are Not Alone by Michael Jackson and I was like, what is this? What is this? And I was like sobbing. And my mom was like, you got it. You've got it. We're on the same page. And it's like I think every time anything monumental has ever happened, anything whatever, I've always been listening to like and I love the Police as well.
Oh, bravo. Well done.
And like
Taste.
no one ever talks about them. I just that's a big like Sting as well. Oh my God, I love Sting. If I met Sting, I think I would like pass out on the spot.
Really?
Yeah. I think I would pass out
Stuart
and I'm like,
Copeland would
wow.
be more interesting person to talk to than Sting.
I don't know. I think like, oh, what's the song? What's the song? Um, oh, I dream of rain, you know that song?
Mm.
I dream of bodies in the desert. Desert Rose?
Oh, it's not a Police song. It's a Sting song. Or was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like that song.
Hmm.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know. It just I don't even know. I don't even get it, but I'm like, it made me cry. I just love it.
No, it's like I was raised on Beatles and
Mm,
so my music discovery was Beatles and Queen, but then
mm,
my sister, I only have one sibling and she's older than me, introduced me to NXS, and that just
yeah.
changed something, just triggered something, and then went from there. I went into Rat Cat, which you probably don't even know who Rat Cat are, but that was sort of like the gateway to Nirvana and Pearl
Mm,
Jam and Offspring because I was
yeah.
smack bang right in the middle of all that grunge movement.
Mm,
But yeah,
yeah.
it's amazing how that makes you feel, right? So yes,
Yeah, 100%.
I love how you the Police do that for you because the Police are one of those bands that one underrated for a lot of people, and they were also groundbreaking with what they did because they were one of the early ones that were bringing in reggae and into punk and
Yeah,
but not making it ska.
100%.
They were doing something different.
Yeah. And like the thing also Nirvana and like so when I was like 13, 12 or 13, I remember I was hanging out with a lot of like older kids at like high school, whatever.
Hmm.
And one of my friends introduced me to Courtney Love, and I was like, Courtney Love?
Mm.
Huh. And then they were like, yeah, you know, the whole thing about Courtney Love, and they
Yep.
were like, oh yeah, there's allegations. And I was like, no, whatever. And then I was listening to like Hole and Nirvana, and I started listening to Foo Fighters, and then I started listening to like modern alternative rock bands like Nothing But Thieves, which is like one of my favorite bands of
Brilliant
all
band.
time,
Right.
like Royal Blood and
Yep.
things like that. And it was like a whole new demographic of the world that I had not discovered. Like, funnily enough, I make a lot of melancholic music, but if you get in my car, you're probably gonna hear some like grungy punk music. I remember, look, my producer was in the car with me, and he was like, "Why do you listen to such angry music?" There's something nice about having like commemorating anger in like a positive way, and not in like a violent way or in a negative way. Like there's always a way to honor a feeling without it having to be the extreme version of that feeling. And I think that's really cool.
That kind of music actually calms me down.
Yeah, me too.
Hmm.
Because I think it's like one of those things where like if I'm pissed off, I'm gonna listen to like Nothing But Thieves, or I'm gonna listen to like I'm gonna listen to Royal Blood a lot,
I love Roll Blood.
especially
Yeah, I'm a bass
like
player,
System
so
of a Down. System of a Down is a big one. Like I listen to Aerials all the time.
have you ever seen them
I don't know
live?
why. No, I haven't.
I saw them live, and they played after Slipknot, and
Hmm.
Slipknot had all their pyrotechnics and like the 9-member band and
Yeah,
all that sort of stuff. System of a Down came out with the 4 dudes, and Serge was just wearing a dress shirt and dress pants, and
yeah.
it blew Slipknot out of the water.
I know they're amazing.
Hmm.
Genuinely, like so good. There was another. There was another. Oh, and like this is like a little bit stupid, but like Limp Bizkit.
Yeah,
I don't
man,
know.
I'm a massive Limp Bizkit fan, so
Like I don't know. Like all the time, and like there are so many.
so
There are so many.
corn as well. I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yep.
There are a lot of there are a lot of things that like sometimes I have to be mindful because I actually don't have playlists for my music. I just have everything in my like songs on
Yeah,
Spotify,
that
and
works.
I just shuffle until I feel what's right. And like sometimes I'll be in the car with like a mutual friend or like someone that I don't know really well, and like just like death coming out of the speakers, and I'm like, oh shit, sorry, hold on 1 minute, and I just have to skip it.
That's awesome. Have you ever seen the research and the correlation between metal and ADHD?
Wait, hold on. But I can't. Wait a minute. But I actually have, and isn't it supposed to be like there's something about the sound that helps with the distraction and like
Hmm.
helps bring down distraction? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I like.
Fun fact, I actually did study psychology for a while
All
and then I
right.
dropped out.
Ah, yeah. I know a few people like that.
Giving you all the dirt today.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, we're about to
Uh,
time out, Melina, but this has been an awesome chat, mate. Your EP is coming out the end of July, so we will keep an eye out for
mhm.
that one. I'm sure I'll get notification for it anyway. Stay With Me is out now, as well as Overpass and Armstrong Street, so I'll actually link these in the podcast as well, so people can go check those out. I love what you're doing. Keep being you, all right? So your workers, by the way, the bass movements, particularly in Stay With Me, is that synth bass or is that played?
That's played.
Because whatever tone, I was sitting there just going, I want that tone because that was such a really nice deep. I'm assuming there's like an octave down, or I don't know. Yeah, had that synthy tone to it. Yeah, I know my bass parts. All right,
Mhm.
you staying on the line there. Everyone else, this has been Milina Mihic, and do check out Stay With Me. It's great. All right,
Thank you so much for having me.
massive thanks to Milina for jumping in on that one. It was quite weird. We shared some pretty funny moments off air for us to know, for you to not find out. If you have enjoyed. Oh, by the way, before I go into this part, do check out Stay With Me. Do check out Overpass. Do check out Armstrong Street. If you like Phoebe Bridgers, if you like Fiona Apple, Kate Bush, Tori Amos, along those realms, you will highly likely really enjoy Melina's work. So I'll link her releases in this podcast for you to check out. Alrighty, I don't know when the next podcast is going to be, so follow, subscribe, and you'll be alerted. So press the subscribe button on YouTube or follow on Spotify or Apple Music Podcast, wherever you listen to this thing, or on TikTok or whatever. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, thank you for supporting local music, live music, Australian music, all sorts of music. You guys are legends. Bye.